Hello, welcome back to Reading Success Academy. I'm Paula Smith and we're going to do a word attack exercise. We're going to be breaking down a longer word into smaller chunks to make it easier to read and easier to spell. I'm all about making things easier. So I'm going to give you a nice long word here and I'm going to show you how you can look for clues to make it easier to break down. So let's take a look at today's word. All right, nice and long, lots of letters here, and you can tell just by looking at it that it's going to have a lot of chunks, right? You do know that, right? Okay, because when there are a lot of vowels in a word, that means there's going to be a lot of chunks because it takes a vowel sound to make a chunk. A chunk is part of a word that has one vowel sound in it. There are a lot of vowels in here, but that's a little bit deceiving because this word actually has a special ending. If you've looked at any of my other videos, you've probably seen me talking about special endings in the past. Special endings are like shun and jur and jus and did I say shun already? Chur and shus and kashus. They don't sound out just right. It's a group of letters normally at the end of a word, unless there's a suffix on it, and it just doesn't seem to sound out just right. So instead of trying to make sense of all the letters in that grouping, just learn that whole group of them as one particular chunk. Now, in this word, our special ending is shus. All of this is shus. Now, you can also see shus spelled with T-I-O-U-S, like in nutritious. But in this word, it's C-I-O-U-S. All right, so let's take a look and see if we can find any groups of letters that make one sound, because that's our next step. Look for special endings first, then look for groups of letters that make one sound. Now, I don't see any here. There's not any vowel teams. There's not groups of letters like SH or CH, anything like that. Don't see any double consonants. So what we need to do next is start at the beginning and start sounding it out until we think we have a chunk. Remember, a chunk is part of a word that has a vowel sound in it. So we're going to sound out until we at least have a vowel sound. All right, so we're going to say p, r, e, pre. That sounds like a chunk to me. We'll put a line right there. So your first chunk is pre, and then we're going to take a look at our next chunk. We're not going to keep pre and continue to sound through it. What we're going to do is just set pre aside. We know that's the first chunk, and then start the next one. K, o, blend those together. Co. So now we'll blend together our first chunk and our second chunk. Pre-co, pre-co. And we already know our last chunk is shus. So now we'll put those three chunks together. Precocious, precocious. Do you see how that works? Knowing that all of these letters here at the end is just shus, knowing that ahead of time is a great shortcut, because we only had two other chunks to sound out, and then we just tacked on the shus and we're done with it. All right, if you're curious about what precocious means, let's go take a look at that. Precocious is how you would describe a child who has developed some ability, regardless of what it is. Maybe it's a reading ability or speaking ability or some sort of, maybe it's specialized information about a particular topic. So they've learned it at a very early age, earlier than expected. So you could use it in a sentence like this. The precocious child could read and write before starting kindergarten. Okay, so those are pretty handy skills to know before you even start kindergarten, right? Okay, now when I'm looking at a word like this and wondering how am I going to remember how to spell this, that's when we're going to break this thing into chunks and use those lines. You can use lines or you could use eye stoppers. I like to use eye stoppers if I'm going to sound it out, or if I'm going to be writing it. Sorry, one chunk at a time. I'd write each chunk, put an eye stopper, go on to the next chunk, draw in an eye stopper, and then with special ending, I would probably just choose another color here. Anytime you change colors when you're coding a word is a clue that you need to do something different, and that's where our special ending is. precocious. So really the only special thing about this word is the special ending at the end. Now, if we'd had a word that had like a vowel team or something in there, then I would use a different color and group those. All right. Well, that is all I have for you today. Nice short lesson there on the word precocious. Think about how you would use precocious in a sentence of your own, and you can write that sentence and email it to me at hello@readingsuccessacademy.com. I'd love to hear it. And if you don't want to share it with me through email, you can just try using that word in just some of your conversations around the people you're going to be with this weekend. All right. I hope to see you on Monday.